Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Our guest today is James. So James, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Yeah, Dan, thanks for having me on. So my name is James Onyks. I'm the CEO of Ohana Advertising. We specialize in paid advertisements for Google, Bing, and Meta for companies in the United States, e-commerce and lead generation. Currently, I'm located in Lisbon, but I'm from upstate New York.
So yeah, I'm curious kind of how you got into advertising in the first place.
Yeah, so I lived in Bulgaria for 9 years. And when I was there, I started an event company doing techno events and working with other companies, a beer company, and I was helping them through sales. And they didn't have a marketing person, so I got into that and started doing advertisements there. And I had a skill an undiscovered skill that I didn't know I had. So I started working on that and developing it, and it kind of turned into where I am now.
So in terms of, working in Bulgaria, obviously it's very different than like the US. Do you speak Bulgarian, or how did you kind of like go into, working over there?
Yeah, I didn't speak Bulgarian at all. I learned it on the street, basically. So I have a very taxi driver accent. If you speak to somebody from there, that's what they'll tell you. But yeah, I speak Bulgarian and I learned it. And basically I had to learn how to speak it in order to make money there because I couldn't work there through traditional means. So the only way to really work was underground, like cafes, bars, and then working for this company doing sales. But even all the sales were in Bulgarian. So I was going door to door selling beer to old Bulgarian bar owners. So I had to learn how to do that, which was unique.
That's awesome. No, it's cool that you kind of like started the business based off a skill that you learned from like a previous job. So going from, doing that in Bulgaria to actually starting your own business, like what did that process look like and what made you want to go and pursue this business to help like other companies around the world?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I wasn't really sure how to develop that skill more. And then there was a period of time where I was like not working at all, and I didn't know how to transform my skills into like a business, a digital business, because everything I had done previously was in person. So that was something very interesting. I mean, obviously doing ads wasn't, but I met this guy who had a online community, and he basically was like, James, you're wasting your time. He goes, start a business. And then I told him I didn't really know how to do that. So he basically helped me get set up and kind of structured it so that I could like give me a template and kind of walked me through it. And then my first year, I did over 100K my first year. So I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I just kept pushing it, and that's kind of how I got it going.
So in terms of ads, right? Because you were saying you work on kind of many different channels like Meta, Google, Bing. So obviously those channels are all different. So how do you kind of, run those ads on different channels? Like if you kind of master the skills on all those channels, you have, a good team around you. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I learned Google first, and I've been doing Google for a long time, and I'm a Google partner. And Bing is very similar to Google, even in the sense that you can copy campaigns directly from Google into Bing. So the interface is very adaptable, I guess we'll say. But yeah, so I mean, Facebook is still a bit of a black box for me in certain areas, but then I just learned how to hire people who are a lot smarter than me. And then I gave them freedom to work with their own skill set and their own experience and to apply it to a more untraditional way of working together with me in a team format. So I guess I'd structured it more as a team. And then I have people who I contract and they work for my company, and I give them the freedom to kind of implement their own experience and strategy into my processes. So that's how I cover my blind spots.
That makes sense. And then in terms of like, Google versus Meta versus Bing, it's like, somebody's coming to you, a client comes to you. How do you kind of guide them in terms of which platform makes the most sense for their business?
Yeah, good question. So actually, I have this question probably every day on sales calls. So I'd have to say that it really depends on the business itself. I do think that having a dual strategy with top of the funnel Facebook, bottom of the funnel, middle funnel Google is definitely a good strategy for almost every business, just to retarget and build out a more diverse funnel that, having two platforms is safer than one. But generally, if it's an e-com business and it's more of a product that's a novelty or a throwaway, something that you can put on subscription, then generally I find that Facebook is probably a better place to start if they had to choose one platform or the other, right? And then usually service-based businesses, Google's generally better. So I kind of try to figure out, if they have a budget for only one platform, then we look at what's more realistic. And if they have a creative-based product where, hairspray or, something along those lines, then I would probably suggest Meta.
What about for Bing?
Yeah, Bing generally has an audience of B2B that, because like you're at the office on Microsoft Office, so then you're searching through Bing at work. And so generally people who are in offices, they're looking for services, software, things like that. I find that Bing works quite well actually, because we're getting really great leads for a concrete company right now through Bing, like $13 leads that are qualified. But for example, we tried running ecom a few different times in Bing and had almost zero success. So, I mean, we did have some sales, but it wasn't enough to cover the ROAS that they needed. So it was, I think the market share is not there, but for certain industries of, business professionals who are looking online for products and services that have, that are searching during the daytime for this type of work. So like CMMS softwares, like companies offer software solutions for, industrial places or service-based businesses. I think that Bing is a good opportunity for them.
So in terms of your clients, I think you mentioned earlier that most of your clients are in the US. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, hey, have you thought about working with like international clients? Is that different? Or like, yeah, I guess like what is your perspective there in terms of like who you work with?
Ooh, I might be shooting myself in the foot. So I've worked with people in Europe. As I mentioned, I've been living in Bulgaria for like 8 years, but I've been in Europe for around 11. I've worked with many different types of business owners. I specifically segment myself to the United States, one, because I'm an American and it's easier for me to understand the mentality and usually Americans appreciate the service-based industries more. I'm providing a service. They're willing to pay for that. They understand the value. Whereas I feel like in Europe, the service-based mentality isn't quite there yet. And as a service provider, most of the time, from my experience alone, I mean, I have spoken to other people, but I'm speaking from mine, that a lot of European business owners like to treat you as an employee, and there's a lot more micromanaging that's done. And I don't feel like this is really conducive for success and efficiency. So I just found that it wasn't really in my best interest or the clients I'm working with to work in this type of way.
Yeah, no, I had a call with somebody else that was actually European and pretty much said the same thing. And I think it's a common trend, not just even in Europe, but even in other parts of the world, in Australia and New Zealand, as opposed to like in the US, we're kind of a bit more independent. And yeah, I mean, we have clients all over the world. I mean, everybody's different, but unfortunately, that sometimes those trends and stereotypes do exist in some aspects.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of for your own business, right? Like there's obviously many ways to scale. So like have you run ads for your own business or like how have you kind of scaled that and gotten leads and grown?
Yeah, so I've tried running ads, but at the time I was doing a lot. I added 3 new services at that time because at one point I was offering SEO, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and I had really just was like, okay, I got this figured out. I guess this will come into, a later piece that I know you wanted to discuss. But in the beginning, I got my eyes were bigger than my stomach. So I started adding a lot of services, and then I was trying to do sales and then lead generation in multiple channels. And I didn't have the ability to give marketing the attention it deserves, which is what I tell all of my clients. So I didn't follow my own advice there. But I found that for me, actually cold email and freelancing platforms have been gold. Really warm, and people generally reply when there's direct interest. So it's easier for me to communicate with people who have expressed interest as opposed to people filling out a lead form and coming, and then they're like shopping around. So there's a little bit more of that type of correlation between a need and providing a service.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I would agree with that. I think that sometimes ads can be challenging for B2B because people are shopping around, might not be, quality leads. It's kind of hit or miss, but it's not always, like it's like the best channel. So in terms of your goals, right? Obviously we're about to wrap up Q1 here of 2025. So what are some of your biggest goals and objectives for the rest of this year?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to get back above 50K consistently by summer, so that would be great. And then finish the year over 600K in revenue would be cool. So I mean, ideally more, but that's we gotta take it based on past trends and like with my company and where I'm going. But yeah, so get that fit. I'm also like starting an e-com store, ideally. I mean, I'm working on it now. I'm speaking to distributors. So I'm trying to utilize my time and the resources that my agency provides to help me kind of give me a boost in that. But for the goals, it'd be to get above 50K and to probably hire a full-time person and get that kind of situation figured out, because I think it would be better for long-term growth. But for now, things
Yeah.
are
And then in
steady.
terms of starting like an e-com store, I mean, so we don't have to get too deep into that, but I'm just curious, like, are you also going to be targeting like the US, or are you going to be trying to sell like in Europe?
No, I'll target the US.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think the US definitely, it's a very consumeristic country, so I think that's a good move. So I guess in terms of your business, right, and your career, obviously you've been doing it for some time now. So if you could go back in time to before you got started, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
Yeah, I guess it would be client acquisition and drop off, because in the beginning, I stressed super hard about losing clients, like it was the end of the world, and it's really not. So I would probably just tell myself to relax and to just learn, and can just like keep pushing forward and not really focusing on what's being dropped off. Like learn from it, obviously. So I did learn from every client that I lost, and I use that to optimize my processes, because I would ask them like, why did you leave? So just learn from what I thought was a stressful situation, but it's actually a learning opportunity. So just take the stressful moments and realize that they pass, and that generally, if you stay focused on the future, that your goals will become realized anyway. So it doesn't really matter to get stressed in between.
Yeah, it's good advice. Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's like, it's always good to get feedback. I mean, some situations are not avoidable. People leave sometimes to bring a team in-house or for what, let's just like, there are certain things that doesn't matter what you would have done, it's out of your control. But yeah, it's always good to get the feedbacks. Even if something happened where a mistake was made, you can learn from that and improve and iterate for your next time. So
Yeah, for
awesome.
sure.
So if somebody watching this wanted to work with you, wanted to reach out, do you mind sharing your website or social medias? I guess best ways to get in contact.
Yeah, so best way to contact me is probably my email, which is james@ohanameansbusiness.com. But then you can also contact me directly from my website, and which is ohanameansbusiness.com. So if you're seeing Lilo and Stitch or whatever, Ohana means family, just swap out family for business, and it'll be really easy for you to figure that out. But yeah, otherwise, you can just contact me on my form here. I took the phone number off because I was getting a lot of spam calls, which I'm sure everybody here who's like watching probably appreciates that. So I guess the form there, but otherwise LinkedIn's probably the best place. I have my profile open, so you can just message me. And my name is James Onyks. I'm the only one. So as long as you spell it right, you'll be able to find me and reach out. And I'm posting content all the time about, so even if you're just looking for like ideas or insights, etc., I'm posting every day, so you'll be able to see it. But this is probably LinkedIn would be the best way to reach out to me.
Your last name is Onyks, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, James, thanks so much for your time today. Of
Yeah, of course, Dan. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing me on. This is fun.
course.